Kumar Rocker is a big leaguer. That's a statement I couldn't have imagined myself making 2 months ago, but it's true. He's real. And by golly, he is absolutely spectacular.
You are Locked On Rangers, your daily Texas Rangers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
You are locked onto the World Series champion Texas Rangers. I'm Bryce Patrick, a cripplingly addicted Texas Rangers fan covering this team for 11 seasons, including all 6 as the founder and host of this podcast. Thank you all so much for making Locked On Rangers your first listen every single day. If you're not already, you can follow me on Twitter at Bryce Patrick. You can follow the show at Locked On Rangers. Hit subscribe on your favorite podcasting platform and on YouTube, where the best way you can help grow the show is to comment nearly any single thing below. Now, before we get into Kumar Rocker's sensational debut, the first of many former Mets making their reappearance this weekend, and Corey Seager's season unfortunately coming to an end. This episode is brought to you by PrizePicks. Go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnMLB and use code LOCKEDONMLB to win $50 instantly when you play $5. Now, Kumar Rocker made his big league debut last night, the most hyped pitching debut since David Clyde, the most hyped prospect debut, I'd say, since Jurickson Profar back in 2012. An insane level of hype, an insane that we even got here, given where Kumar Rocker has been this year and last year, and just in his professional career in general. The hype was sensational. He was sensational, and I was watching last night just giggling and squealing like a small school child, kicking my feet, literally. That was my genuine, honest reaction watching how good Kumar Rocker was. The final line does not do justice to how sensational he looked. 4 innings pitched, 3 hits, 1 run, which was earned, 2 walks, 7 strikeouts, 1 home run, and just absolute domination in Seattle. He only had 2 starts in AAA. He only had 5 starts in AA. And, that's all he needed. I'm not even sure he needed that much. I mean, the level of hype this guy had coming into this game, I did not have this high of expectations when the Rangers drafted him 3rd overall back in 2022. But now that he is a big leaguer, he is the first Major League Baseball player of South Asian descent, of Indian descent, to make his Major League debut. That is a nice fun fact. He said he knows that means a lot to his mother, which is where that side's lineage comes from. He was just so much fun to watch. This was a great environment for him to make his Major League debut in Seattle, a very pitcher-friendly ballpark, not only with the dimensions, but also at this time of the year when it's getting colder, the air is thicker, the ball travels less far. The Seattle Mariners lineup is not exactly one of the most vaunted lineups in baseball, but doing it there on the road, if it wasn't at home, this is a great time for him to make his Major League debut. And like I've said on this show a lot over the last couple weeks, he wasn't just knocking politely on the door to the big leagues. He busted that freaking thing down. He showed, I am way too good to be wasting my pitches against these clearly vastly inferior hitters in any minor league level, let alone college level. This guy was so special that he basically figured out college baseball in year 1. He was the best player in college in his freshman season. If you haven't already, and even if you have, go ahead and do yourself a favor. Go back and watch the highlights of his 19 strikeout no-hitter in the college playoffs. I believe it was the Super Regional against Duke. There is a big leaguer, a future big leaguer that he was facing, Joey Loperfido, who was with Duke at the time. Kumar Rocker made him look silly. He made everybody else in that lineup look silly. And last night against the Seattle Mariners, a big league ball club at age 24, he made them look absolutely silly. the thing about Kumar Rocker is that he's very good at baseball. That's the whole thing. This kid is special. This kid has some of the most jaded Rangers prospect writers, Rangers fans who are prospect obsessed, myself included, who have been burnt many, 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 many times before by many pitching prospects. And we have ingrained on our souls, maybe tattooed on our hearts, the phrase, there is no such thing as a pitching prospect. Because for the Texas Rangers, that has pretty much been the case for most of the franchise's history. And dreaming of even a competent starting pitcher that's homegrown felt like a dream that was too wild to dream of as a Rangers fan. It felt just too much. It was too much to ask. It just wasn't going to happen for us. And especially a year after winning the World Series, something that I thought was never going to happen. Now, in the last less than 12 months, the Rangers have done three things that I thought were impossible. Technically, the last two are basically the same thing. Number one, they won the World Series. That was all that I wanted for them to ever do, and they did it. I never thought it was going to happen, and it did. And then the very next year, despite all the frustrations with them not being very good at winning baseball games this year at the big league level, that's been annoying. But they did two things this year that I never thought possible. They developed a competent homegrown starting pitcher. That's Cody Bradford. They already did that. He proved himself. I know the last start wasn't pretty, but he proved himself to be a competent rotational piece for years to come. And then they did something that I thought was even more impossible than winning the World Series. And that's develop a homegrown ace. Because that's what Kumar Rocker's potential is. Now, is he going to go out there next year and, have a 2.2 ERA and win a Cy Young and be the best pitcher in baseball and, make 33 starts and pitch 200 innings with 300 strikeouts? Probably that's a little bit too much of expectation to put on him. But him going out there and being a competent mid-rotation to upper rotation to eventually number one starter, he's not going to be that because, in case you forgot, Jacob freaking deGrom is still on the Texas Rangers, and he gets to make his season debut the first time he's pitching in over 500 days. That's happening tonight. So you get to back up Kumar Rocker's first performance with Jacob deGrom coming right after. And then, by the way, Max Scherzer on Saturday. I mean, this was just a special debut. I mean, the strikeouts were sensational. There's been a lot of debate on what to call Kumar Rocker's breaking ball. I call it a curveball. Kumar Rocker calls it a curveball. In his own words, according to Zach Bigley, who is the Frisco Rough Riders PR person / broadcaster, he talked to Kumar, and Kumar said, hey, I call it a curveball. I grip it like a curveball. I throw it like a fastball. I have always gripped it this way. And so there is no curveball and slider. There is the one pitch. StatCast calls it a slider. The broadcast called it a slider, and in the post-game interview, Kumar Rocker did not correct Leslie McCaslin, who called it a slider. She was the on-field interview with him, not to disparage Leslie or anybody else who called it a slider, because apparently he, in his own words, according to Mike Petriella of MLB.com, has called it a slider in years past. I think he's calling it a curveball, but it doesn't really matter what the name of the pitch is. It's a fun little philosophical debate is. I think I might just start calling it the death ball, because that's about what it is. It brings death to opposing hitters. It's sensational. He threw 74 pitches last night, which was around the expectation for him. The hope was that he'd go 5 innings. That was going to be his limit, but around the 75-ish pitch mark was what they were targeting for him. He threw the death ball 33 times. He got, 21 swings on that, 13 swings and misses, a 62% whiff rate. That's sensational. That does not happen. It doesn't happen on any pitch in the major leagues. It just does not happen. It is a truly absurd level of whiff rate. I mean, and the crazy thing about that pitch, I mean, you may look at it and you see, okay, how often was it actually in the strike zone? Not very often. Most of the time, it was below the zone. But like Jackligher, when you can throw that 4 strikes, when the hitters have to respect that it can be a strike, They have to chase it out of the zone and in the dirt. He just gets so many, not only swings and misses, but just flat out horrendous, ugly swings on it. I mean, not just just missed it, just foul tipped in the glove. No, just the timing is completely off. The location of their swing is completely off. He is straight up embarrassing very good major league hitters. And it's also kind of funny and perfect that his first MLB strikeout actually came on the fastball, which is his weaker pitch. Coming up, we're going to talk about what made that debut so special, what he needs to do in the future, and how he might make another pitcher in this Ranger rotation even better just by being there. Talk about that and more right after this word from our sponsors. This show is brought to you by Tonal. When life gets busy, fitting in a workout can be stressful. With Tonal, you get an efficient workouts personalized just for you, and they're available with the amount of time that you have. Tonal is the world's smartest and most effective strength training system that helps you get stronger. Powered by AI, Tonal learns with every rep so it can deliver workouts personalized just for you. It's like having a personal trainer at home with you, as Tonal will optimize every workout just for you. Unlike traditional gym equipment, Tonal uses adaptive digital weight to advance your training techniques. From pro athletes to the mom of three, Tonal is trusted by thousands who have become their strongest. Right now, Tonal is offering our listeners $200 off your Tonal purchase with promo code LOCKEDONMLB. That's Tonal.com and use promo code LOCKEDONMLB for $200 off your purchase. That's Tonal.com, promo code LOCKEDONMLB for $200 off. Shout out to the Everydayers for making Locked On Rangers your first listen every single day. Tonight, the Rangers take on the Mariners. Jacob deGrom versus TBD at 9:10 p.m. Central Time, first pitch. You can catch every pitch of the hometown broadcast on SiriusXM. Just download the SXM app and search Rangers. Now, Kumar Rocker was not perfect in his MLB debut. In fact, he gave up a hit on the very first pitch that he threw. But what impressed me so much about Kumar Rocker, it's something that has impressed me a lot when I've watched him so far this season, is that he does not get flustered. He is very unflappable, for the most part. There was one time where he got flapped in this start. But giving up back-to-back seeing eye singles, just little dinks that made it through, having runners at first and third, and then, not getting the call on the second pitch that he threw to Cal Raleigh with a runners at the corners. It was clearly a strike, down 2-0 to a very, very dangerous big dumper. He comes back and he gets his first MLB strikeout. Then he gets another strikeout. Runners at second and third with no outs, and they score 0 runs. 0 runs for the Mariners against him in that inning. And he also gets a fly out to right field. Then he comes back in the second inning and just absolutely abuses hitters. I mean, go back and watch some of the swings that Jorge Polanco took against that death ball. They were truly horrific in a beautiful, beautiful way for Kumar Rocker and people who like when Kumar Rocker throws baseballs. Not so great for Mariners fans or Jorge Polanco himself. But him coming back like that to get those strikeouts, to have that kind of an outing was super, super impressive. The one time where he got flapped, the one time where there was a little bit of frustration visibly shown was on the home run. It was not on the pitch that he threw a home run. It was on the pitch before. He gets a 2-2 count and then nearly gets strike 3 called. A borderline pitch, just not quite there. It wasn't a strike. Pitch 5, a 96.1 mile an hour four-seam fastball that was on the outer corner. It was framed decently well by Jonah, but actually Jonah, who has been a sensational framer, one of the best pitch framers in baseball over the last few years, this year has been in the bottom third of the league in pitch framing. I mean, it's been a really rough year for Jonah Heim in all aspects of his game that I don't really want to get into because this is a happy episode. But one of the things that happened right after that is because he didn't get that call on the 96 mile an hour four-seam fastball on the edge, it barely touched the edge of the strike zone. It could have been called a strike, but that was not something that was being called all night. Then Jonah Heim sets up middle and calls a fastball, says, "All right, big boy, let's see if you can hit it." And, Justin Turner could hit it, and he hit it a long way. 101.8 miles an hour, 401 feet to dead center field. Not a huge power year for Justin Turner, but you throw him a fastball over the middle of the plate. It was up a little bit, but Jonah Heim literally set up in the dead middle of the strike zone as a challenge pitch, which I love Kumar Rocker. He's a very good pitcher. I think he will be a very, very good pitcher for a long time. You could see that he was frustrated that he didn't get the call on the pitch before, and that call of throwing that pitch there, which was Jonah Heim's call, not Rocker's, it felt like a frustration reaction because Kumar Rocker's fastball is not why he is so good. It is the death ball. Now, I know that he throws the fastball, which was an average of 98 miles an hour when he threw it in the minor leagues, was not an average of 98 miles an hour. Last night, 96.7 miles an hour was his average fastball last night. But it just felt like a not great call for him. He's going to get by the fastball being okay. But calling it middle, trying to challenge hitters, even if they're not the best hitters in the major leagues. I mean, Justin Turner is a very quality hitter. It was just not a smart call, and ended up being the only run that he let up on the night was just on that home run. Even those 2 walks, I think, were a little bit borderline calls. I think he would get him with a little bit better pitch framing and a little bit more generous umpire than Rob Drake, who was not super generous last night. But this was just a sensational performance by Kumar Rocker, who is now teammates with his former Vandy teammate, Jackligher. I was asked by multiple different people on Twitter last night if I think that Kumar Rocker being up at the major league level will help Jackligher. And I haven't really talked about it before, but I think my answer is maybe. I don't know. I don't think it could hurt. The Vandy boys being reunited is a fun storyline, and if Jack goes out there and shoves in his next performance, I'm sure people will be talking about, oh, well, look, he's got one of his good friends, and don't get it twisted, these two are legitimately close. These two are legitimately friends. They hung out poolside as soon as Kumar Rocker came up to the big leagues. Jack shot him a text, said, hey, let's hang up. We're teammates again. We're back in the same clubhouse again. I mean, 3 years after Jackligher was drafted, 3 years after these guys were done with college baseball, they're teammates again and at the big league level. That is a fun fact that I don't think has happened very often. It is a fact that, you go back and look, and I know there's been some frustration with Jack's circuitous in quotations, route to the big leagues. He's a big leaguer in 3 seasons after he was drafted. It's a difficult thing to do as a starting pitcher. It's, I think, maybe even more difficult for Rocker to do it 2 years after he was drafted with, I believe, around 60 professional innings at this point. I mean, it just happened very, very quickly for Kumar Rocker in a way that it didn't with Leiter. And if Leiter goes out there and shoves, I don't think it'll be because he has Kumar Rocker on his team and hanging out with them. But I think it'll be because Jackligher is a really darn good pitcher, and he's been making steady progress each of his last starts. But that's kind of where my head is at with that. I don't think you should take away credit from Jackligher working on things and bettering himself just because he's got a friend there at the big league level. I think it might help, and I think that they're both definitely learning a lot from the pitchers that are on the staff right now. Just those two spending time, I know, in spring training the last couple of years with the bunch that they've got right now. I mean, spending time around, some of the game's all-time greats and Max Scherzer and Jacob deGrom. And I mean, there's countless examples of how many times Nathan Eovaldi has helped the guy out with just a little word here and there. He is just such a great mentor, which is another reason why I want the Rangers to bring Eovaldi back next year. But that's kind of my thoughts on the Leiter, Rocker, Vandy Boy combination. I think they are going to be a big part of this team, obviously, moving forward. I'm still a believer in Jackligher as a mid-rotation starter with the upside of a number 2. Kumar Rocker is at least a mid-rotation starter with the upside of an ace, which, again, my definition for an ace is anyone you feel good about starting in game 1 of a playoff series. That is what Kumar Rocker has the potential to be. It is going to be a limited sample size from here to the end of the season. I think we'll get probably 2 more starts from Kumar Rocker. If it were me managing this rotation, I would probably throw Andrew Heaney in the bullpen to kind of piggyback off of the start of either Max Scherzer or maybe Jacob deGrom. Each of those guys are going to be going, 4 to 5 innings, I think, at most. And, the starters haven't been going super duper long this week. It has been a little bit of a taxed bullpen, but I am very, very excited for the start tonight of Jacob deGrom. We're talking about a little Mets tweet that had me smiling and laughing and giggling to myself, thinking about the Rangers starters this weekend, and another Rangers prospect who is having a pretty darn good week after a promotion himself. And of course, we're going to talk about Corey Seager's season-ending injury right after this word from our sponsors. This show is brought to you by PrizePicks. PrizePicks is America's #1 daily fantasy sports app with over 5 million active members. PrizePicks is the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports, because unlike other apps on PrizePicks, it's just you against the numbers. All you do is pick more or less on 2 to 6 player stat projections and watch the winnings roll in. You can now win up to 100 times your money on PrizePicks with as little as 4 correct picks. And PrizePicks is the easiest way and the best way to get in on the action on sports in most states, including California, Texas, and Georgia. PrizePicks puts their members first, so all withdrawals are fast, safe, and secure. When my pick hits, I can get my money in as quick as 15 minutes. So download the PrizePicks app today and use code LOCKEDONMLB and get $50 instantly when you play $5. That's code LOCKEDONMLB on PrizePicks to get $50 instantly when you play $5. You don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus because it is guaranteed. PrizePicks. Run your game. This show is brought to you by FanDuel. You've heard us talk a lot about FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Well, we have something a little different for you. Now through September 22nd, all FanDuel customers can bet $5, get a 3-week free trial of NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. Then with the YouTube TV base plan, you'll be able to watch every regular season Sunday afternoon out-of-market game. All you need is a Google account and a current form of payment. You can cancel anytime. And if that's not enough, be sure to check out FanDuel's Profit Boost in the app and use it for FanDuel's to double your winnings for all Sunday, September 15th pregame moneyline bets. Profit Boost will be starting live Thursday on September 12th. View your account page now to learn more about your boost. They've also got different over-unders and things for MLB. Right now they have got Rangers Mariners over-under tonight. Over-under 0.5 runs scored in the first inning. Right now the over is at plus 126. The under is at minus 162. I don't know exactly who's starting for the Mariners. They have it listed as TBD. But with Jacob deGrom on the mound, I feel like the under is probably the better bet there. But just visit FanDuel.com and download America's #1 sportsbook. Now, all the Rangers news yesterday was not positive. They received some bad news about their star shortstop, Corey Seager, who went to go see a specialist in Arizona. He was dealing with some hip discomfort that placed him on the IL in early September 4th to be precise. And his season is officially done because he has undergone season-ending sports hernia surgery. This was the exact same surgery that he had last year, except this time it is on the right side of his body as opposed to the left side of his body. Last year he was dealing with this, playing through it all throughout the playoffs, and I think probably in the final month of the season as well. He was dealing with it for quite some time. But unlike last year, he is not waiting to see if it heals on its own. He is going ahead and taking care of this as the Rangers are out of it for the season. He is not going to try and come back and play through it. And last time, he waited until I believe it was the end of January to have that surgery. So he ended up missing most, not quite all, but all but the final, I believe, 2 games of spring training and the first, 40-something games, the first month and a half-ish of the regular season. He just did not look like himself. He didn't have a normal offseason. He didn't have a normal spring training, and therefore he wasn't really ready for game 1 of the regular season. But the Rangers still trotted him out there, and he did not look like himself. And so the Rangers have learned from that and said, okay, well, we're not going to wait for that to get better on its own. It might not, but we are not taking that chance. So he had the surgery now. So he will have enough time to recover almost assuredly, completely before we get to spring training. So we'll have a mostly normal offseason. Still, we'll be spending a lot of it rehabbing, but we'll have enough of the offseason before spring training, I think, to just get in some normal offseason reps. And the important thing is that he'll be ready for the start of spring training next year, fully healthy and fully ready to go, assuming there's no setbacks or other things like that with the surgery, which is not something that I'm expecting. It's frustrating to lose Corey Seager for the season. To lose him for any amount of time is incredibly frustrating. It is opening up some more options for Zeke Duran and Josh Smith to get some at bats for the Rangers to figure out what the heck they have in them while they are playing out the stretch. Not quite meaningless games, but definitely not ones with super huge playoff implications. Just like the game they are playing tonight with Jacob deGrom on the mound, Max Scherzer on the hill on Saturday, and going with the trio, the triumvirate, if you will, of Kumar Rocker to Jacob deGrom to Max Scherzer. In case you're unaware, all these guys have Mets ties. And if you weren't aware, then SNY Mets will always let you know about that. They always have something to say about Jacob deGrom. Usually not the most positive thing from the Mets broadcast station of just, oh, look at that guy. Look at what the Mets dodged a bullet. There's been a whole bunch of nonsense and mess there. And they had this tweet last night that kind of was prodding at everybody. It was a good bait tweet, and unfortunately I took the bait. This is what they said in their tweet. The Texas Rangers will start Kumar Rocker tonight, Jacob deGrom tomorrow, Max Scherzer on Saturday. Rocker is making his MLB debut. deGrom is starting for the first time in an MLB game since April 2023 after undergoing Tommy John surgery. And they talked about his rehab, and they talked about Scherzer being on the shelf since July 30th. And they said the Rangers have struggled to repeat their World Series success last year and are out of contention. The Mets, of course, are in playoff contention and have their eyes set on the postseason. A sliding doors moment. Well, that just is an incredibly baity tweet. And congrats that they know how to bait their audience. A sliding doors moment. Because, yes, I would much rather be the New York Mets holding firmly to the final postseason spot, fighting off the Atlanta Braves, instead of having two of the greatest pitchers of all time, and a guy who's looking like he might end up being a pretty darn good pitcher in his own right, in Kumar Rocker. You're saying, well, what do the Mets have instead? Well, the Mets have, let's see, they got, well, not much. Not much. They gave up also, let's remind you, $35 million they are paying Max Scherzer to not be on the New York Mets. They're doing that. So you want to go the save money route, which is a dumb route to go unless you are literally Steve Cohen and it is exactly your pocketbook. It does not affect you at all. And what do they use those funds to do? Well, not much. They got Luis Angel Acuna, who I think is going to be a solid, fifth infielder for you. A pretty darn good major leaguer who I think will have a nice long career. And if he ends up being a first division starting shortstop or makes some all-star games, then great. Good for him. I wish him all the success in the world. They also got Kevin Parada as their bonus pick for not signing Kumar Rocker, which he's got some scary medicals, and there's a very real chance that things go off the rails with Rocker not being able to stay healthy. I get that. But so far he has been pretty terrible as a 22-year-old in Double-A, his second pro season, and in a little under 1,000 minor league plate appearances. He's got a 709 OPS as a catcher who there are questions about his glove, and he was very much an offense-first catcher. This year has a 645 OPS in 112 games at the Double-A level. And then they also have... Nope, that's all they got. They gave away $35 million, decided not to really pursue Jacob deGrom, traded away Max Scherzer, and decided not to sign Kumar Rocker. And here they are poking at the Rangers, who, instead of that, they have Max Scherzer, one of the greatest of all time, has been kind of a shell of himself this year, but was very helpful last year. The Rangers don't make the playoffs. They don't win the World Series without him. Same with Jacob deGrom. They do not win... They do not make the playoffs without those 6 starts from Jacob deGrom. The Texas Rangers still have not lost a game in which Jacob deGrom has started. That is a nice 6-0 streak. Hopefully there will be more than 6 starts between now and the end of that contract. But just the self-righteousness of the Mets to be doing that. And oh yeah, by the way, the Rangers also won the freaking World Series. I mean, sitting there and pointing at the reigning World Series champs, no matter how frustrating and annoying and disappointing the season has been. And it has been frustrating and annoying and disappointing. And overall, yeah, Jacob deGrom and Max Scherzer are not, pitching this year like the value that you would hope for in a combined, I think, $75 or $80 million, maybe $83 million, I think at the most, of what they're earning in total, which the Mets are paying a decent chunk of that. I think the Rangers are paying combined $52 million, $52.5 million to deGrom and Scherzer this season for what will probably be a combined maybe 50 innings. But it's fine. You won the World Series. Laughing at other teams who have won a World Series, something the Mets have not done since, I believe, the 1970s, is just a funny little place to be. And, I'm glad that it worked out for the Rangers. I wish the Mets all the best. Just a funny little sliding doors moment that I think slid in on the foot of whoever was tweeting that about the New York Mets. But Kumar Rocker's debut last night was just such a fun moment for this offense to step up. And even though the bullpen was not great, Gerson Garabito just did not have it last night. Chafin, another night where he was just as wild as ever, still only ended up giving up one of his own runs, getting 3 strikeouts in an inning and 2/3, and the offense rallying with the home runs by Josh Young, Nathaniel Lowe, and Marcus Semien and Wyatt Langford, helping out there and getting his 22nd double of the season. Nathaniel Lowe also driving in another run, and then getting the shutdown 7, 8, 9 innings from the bullpen from the combination of Matt Festa, David Robertson, and Kirby Yates. Just a nice, fun night with some exciting hope for the future, which at this point is all you're really looking for, at least all I'm looking for Rangers games out of now and the end of the season. Some great, fun moments, a fun Major League debut where a guy had an impossible amount of hype and not only lived up to it, but exceeded it. And oh, by the way, we get to watch Jacob deGrom pitch in a Texas Rangers uniform again tonight. That is a very, very fun moment. And even though this season didn't start or go in the middle, the beginning and middle were not exactly what you were hoping for, the end of this year sure has had some fun, special moments. And hopefully we'll have many more exciting Kumar Rocker and Jacob deGrom starts to either dunk on the Mets or just dunk on the rest of the world. Because these two guys are some special starting pitchers. And I, for one, am very, very glad they ended up with the Rangers. That's going to do it for this week's shows. Thank y'all so much for listening and subscribing. And until next time, don't forget to enjoy World Series champion Texas Rangers baseball.